To conclude Healthy Eating Week, we're going to have a look at health for life and ways to achieve this as well. So we are now come to the last day of Healthy Eating Week. Hope you have been celebrating the occasion with lots of activities to look at healthy eating, where food comes from, and how food is prepared as well. What are you most proud of, and what do you think you could do better? To kickstart on the topic health for life, we need to think about why it is important to be healthy. Well, being healthy helps to keep us strong, as well as to stay away from being ill. But how can we do this? Well, there are two main things which are important for health: eating and drinking well, and being active. According to the National Pupil Survey by the British Nutrition Foundation, most pupils in the UK feel that they know lots about healthy eating, but do not always follow it. What do you do to eat healthily? Do you eat well? Are you active every day? To help us make healthier choices, the government has produced 8 tips for healthy eating. Raise your hands if you've heard of these before. So these tips complement on the healthy eating messages from the Eat Well plate, which is the UK's healthy eating model, and hopefully most of you, if not all of you, have seen it before. The Eat Well plate is the UK's healthy eating guide, which sets up the types and proportions of foods which make up a healthy, varied diet. It is divided into 5 food groups. 1/3 of the plate is made up of bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and other starchy foods. The other third from fruit and vegetables, and the remaining third is made up of foods from milk and dairy foods, meat, fish, eggs, beans, and other non-dairy sources of protein, and foods and drinks high in fat and not sugar. We are recommended to follow the Eat Well plate to choose a variety of different foods from the 4 biggest groups. So to kickstart the 8 tips for eating well, let's have a look at the first tip, which is base your meals in starchy foods. So what are starchy foods? Some of the examples represented by this group include bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, breakfast cereals, noodles, couscous, yam, cassava. Well, you can see that these are some common foods that we tend to eat every day. And hopefully you are including these foods at every meal. The reason is because these foods provide energy as well as dietary fiber, some minerals such as calcium and iron, and B vitamins to keep us healthy. Choosing whole grain varieties whenever possible also gives us the extra fiber, which is important to add bulk to the diet and keeps our gut healthy. There are plenty of options available, so try to choose different types to keep it interesting. Next, we're looking at eating lots of fruit and veg. How many of you eat 5 a day or try to eat 5 a day? Please raise your hands. And of course, it's very important to eat lots of fruit and vegetables. However, most people in the UK are not eating enough. We should be eating at least 5 portions each day, and that's because these foods, fruit and vegetables, provide vitamins and minerals for the body to function properly. I've got a true or false question for you. Only fresh fruit and vegetables count towards 5 a day. Do you think it's true or do you think it's false? The answer is false. Frozen, dried, canned, and juiced ones all count, so it's important to try different types of fruit and vegetables to get your 5 a day. Next, we're going to look at eating more fish. Do you include some fish each week? The government recommendation is to eat at least 2 portions of fish each week, one of which should be oily. So a portion of cooked fish is 140 grams, around the size of a salmon fillet. So it's actually important to try to include some fish per week and include oily types if possible as well. The main reason is because fish is a good source of protein and provides many vitamins and minerals that the body needs. White fish is low in fat, while oily fish is rich in the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, important to keep our hearts healthy. And this is done by reducing blood cholesterol levels. Some examples of white fish include cod, haddock, and halibut. Some examples of oily fish include salmon, fresh tuna, and trout. I've got another true or false question for you. True or false? Canned tuna is an oily fish. What do you think? I must say this is a tricky question. Well, the answer is false. The fact is, during the canning process, the amount of long-chain omega-3 fatty acids in tuna is reduced to levels similar to whitefish. So canned tuna is actually considered as a white fish. Going easy and cutting down on saturated fat and sugar. The main reason for this tip is because eating too much saturated fat can increase blood cholesterol levels in our body and the chance of developing heart disease. Having too many foods which contain high amounts of sugar consumed between meals is linked with an increased tendency towards tooth decay, particularly when good dental hygiene is not practiced. And that's the main reason for this tip, to cut down on saturated fat and sugar. So foods which contain high amounts of saturated fat include fatty cuts of meat and sausages, butter, cakes and pastries. And examples of foods which are high in sugar include sweets and confectionery, cakes and drinks added with sugar. So you can see that these foods tend to be the more tastier options that we sometimes we go for. The main message is we can eat some of these, but try to cut down because most of the people are actually having too many foods high in saturated fat and sugar in the UK. So the main key message is to try to compare food labels to choose foods which are lower in saturated fat and sugar. And when having foods and drinks high in sugar, try to include them as part of the meal to reduce their impact on dental decay. Going on to the next tip is eating less salt. I've got a question for you here. How much salt do you think we should eat each day? A, no more than 6 grams, B, no more than 8 grams, or C, no more than 10 grams? The answer is no more than 6 grams. Adults and teenagers should eat no more than 6 grams of salt each day, and children under 11 years old need even less salt than that. And this is because young children's developing kidneys cannot cope with the extra amount of salt. And that's why we should try to eat as little salt as possible, and that's also because most of the people in the UK are eating too much. Eating less salt can help us to maintain a normal blood pressure, which is important for health. Having too much salt in the diet may raise blood pressure levels and lead to stroke and heart disease. Most of the salt in the UK that we eat comes from food that we buy readily prepared, such as from bread and cereal products, meat products, and some ready meals. So it is very important that we try to compare labels when buying foods to select foods which are lower salt options to try to eat less salt. Going on to the next tip, get active and be a healthy weight. It is very important that we try to be a healthy weight. This can be achieved and maintained through being active to use up the energy from food and drinks. If we take in more energy from food and drinks than what we use up, we may put on weight in the long run. Having too much extra weight may lead to overweight and obesity, which eventually increase the risk of certain health outcomes, such as having a higher risk for type 2 diabetes, some cancers, heart disease, and stroke. It's very important that we have a look at this because 1 in 4 adults in the UK is obese actually, so it's very important that we try to maintain a healthy weight. If we use up more energy from food and drinks than what we use up, we may lose weight in the long run. Losing a lot of weight in the long run may lead to underweight, which can also affect our health. So it's very important to be of a healthy weight, not to be overweight or underweight. So how much activity do we need to do to help us achieve and maintain a healthy weight? Well, for children and young people, they are recommended to do at least 60 minutes of moderate intensity activity every single day. This means activity that will make you breathe harder, make your heart beat faster, and make you feel warmer and sweat as well. It seems like a long period of time to do this every day. However, short bouts of activity all count and add up to the daily activity recommendation. And you can choose different types of activity. For example, living actively, doing lots of household chores around your home, doing lots of walking, helping with the gardening, and using the stairs even, they all count. Active recreation, so going for some skating, cycling, and dancing with your friends, and of course, organized sport. The good thing about this is everything counts, so even 10 minutes here and there all adds up to your activity output every single day. And we're very pleased to see that during Healthy Eating Week, a lot of schools have actually sent in entries on how they can incorporate activity during school time and at home to celebrate Healthy Eating Week, and we hope that this will continue throughout the rest of the summer and in the next school year to come as well. The most important message about getting active is try to sit less and move more. Going on to the next one is don't get thirsty. 2/3 of our body is made up of water, and we lose water constantly throughout the day through sweating and going to the toilet. It is very important that we try to keep well hydrated throughout the day by replacing water loss to keep our body function properly. We are recommended to drink around 6 to 8 glasses each day, but this should be more when the weather is hot like today on a hot summer's day, and when we've been active as well, because we lose more water through sweating. It is important to drink throughout the day and try not to get thirsty. Even a small loss of water in our body can lead to problems such as headaches and the loss of concentration and affect performance in school and at work. Last but not least, we have don't skip breakfast. Could you raise your hands if you had breakfast this morning, please? It is important that we have breakfast every day. This is because when we sleep, our body still uses fuels from foods to keep us breathing and our heart beating, so keeping us alive basically. By the time we wake up, we'll need to get energy from food and drink to stock up our energy stores. Therefore, it is important to have healthy breakfast to get the energy and nutrients we need throughout the morning. Breakfast can also help to increase concentration throughout the day as well. So it's very important that we don't skip breakfast. If we skip it, it is likely that we will fill up on snacks which are high in fat and sugar if we get hungry before lunch. And the fact is there are many different breakfast options. If we are short for time, we can always get something easy to grab and go, or even to prepare your breakfast the night before so that you can have something ready to go for school, to have something to eat or drink, which is very important. So think about your favorite breakfast, and also to try to inspire children to have breakfast every day. I hope they're having, most of them are having breakfast every day, because a national pupil survey has shown that actually 6% of primary pupils and around 22% of secondary students do not have breakfast every day, which is quite alarming. So it's very important that we promote this message throughout school. So to recap the 8 tips, we have looked at ways to base our meals on starchy foods, having lots of fruit and veg and more fish in the diet, cutting down on saturated fat and sugar, eating less salt, getting active and being a healthy weight, drinking plenty, and not to skip breakfast as well. A good way of encouraging students to think about this set of tips is to try to make a pledge, and also maybe to use this target tracker which we've developed for Healthy Eating Week, but you can still download this from our website afterwards to inspire children and pupils in school to think about the key eating messages like eating 5 a day, eating breakfast every day, drinking 6 to 8 glasses of fluid each day, and being active for an hour each day as well. Quite a useful way of thinking about how